Hi, I'm Gary Marsh here in Las Vegas with Gary Swedback from NAI Mexico. Welcome.
Nice to be here with you, Gary. Thank you.
At the beautiful Cosmopolitan Hotel on the Strip. And I guess in Mexico, there's a word for us since we have the same name.
It's a good point. When two people have the same names in Mexico, no matter if they're women or men, they call themselves tocayos. So if I see you and I haven't seen you for a while, or we just chance encounter, hi tocayo, ¿cómo está tocayo?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, yo muy bien también, gracias.
Sí, sí.
Very nice.
Okay, so it's great to be here. You're one of the international offices that are here at convention, which is great. I understand you have 12 offices in Mexico?
Yes, we operate from 12 locations, and they're spread pretty well throughout the country, mostly in locations where there would be demand from global firms. So the big three cities, Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara, but also the northern cities where the industrial and maquiladoras are set up, all along the 1,800-mile border from Brownsville, Texas to San Diego, where I live.
And including Ciudad Juarez?
Ciudad Juarez is right in the middle of all of that. It's about halfway in between.
It's one of the bigger international trade borders, I recognize.
It is, and as far as the number of crossings for trailers and for rail, that's probably the busiest crossing in Mexico, going across the border.
Whole segment on the U.S.-Mexico trade situation these days, but in brief, how do Mexican businesses look at the current state of politics and doing business together? Because it's not stopping it. There might be some interference with the border crossing of goods, slower, but in general, what's sort of the attitude and again, it could be a whole segment, but in a sentence or three, what's going on?
Well, in the least complicated way, I can say that we had the same questions when Trump was running. The political cycle had its campaign rhetoric. He won, and the highly vaunted border adjustment tax never occurred. The tariffs weren't significant. He threatened to raise them to 25%. None of that happened. Now with the new political situation, with the new AMLO, which is Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the new president. Yep. He's also a very strong advocate for the point of view from Mexico. So we have two personalities that we're working with. And my job as an advisor to global companies is to help balance out what's really going on. And it's also to perform risk assessment kind of from an advisory standpoint. To answer your question, business is continuing as usual. None of the big global firms really believe that anything significant is going to occur that will destabilize or deconstruct the North American supply chain, which is what Mexico and NAFTA originally were set up for. So I think we're still in pretty good shape. There's always going to be uncertainty, but part of our job as advisors is to gauge that and stay ahead of it. And so far, this year, 2019, has been an incredibly strong year for industrial real estate and investment in retail and office in Mexico.
Excellent.
So we're seeing a good year, despite the campaign rhetoric.
Yes, good. And I want to back up. I said you're president, you're a U.S. citizen, you live in San Diego, so your president is my president. And so there is a Mexican president that's new to office as well. That's what we were referencing.
We'll never get to a real estate transaction unless the risk assessment's completed, unless there's a gauging of the uncertainty. And there are a number of factors that have to be considered. Traditionally, as we've evolved this, and it's the global clients who are asking for this, we were transaction-oriented for office, retail, industrial, and hospitality. And then the clients were saying, well, can you project manage this while I'm getting my building built? Can you build tenant improvements for us? So over the course of the last 10 years, we've added valuation, we've added market analytics, which is now evolving into business intelligence. We added construction management and then general construction. So we've got what I would consider to be a more vertically integrated process. And not all of that has to be engaged by the client, but it's there. And when there's uncertainty, it can take the risk out of that for the client. So that's working really well. In the last 12 months, we've moved aggressively into business intelligence. And that pretty much entails transportation, labor, security, logistics, all of this, all of the factors that affect an operation and the expenses in the operation have to be considered, and we have the ability to do that. So we're actually in-house designing our own business intelligence modules and technology for our clients before we get to the real estate.
So
Yeah.
when you're dealing with your clients, you're dealing with the C-suite, not just the CEO, but really the COO,
Yeah.
and as well as the CFO
Right.
probably.
You know, we just met one of the other NAI members from Appleton, Wisconsin, and 3 years ago, I was working with a company in Milwaukee, flew up, and I thought I was going to meet with 2 people. I walked into a boardroom and there were 12 people sitting there, and it was the COO, it was a strategic planning director, it was legal, it was tax, and 3 supply chain logistics folks, and a couple of other ones. And the decision teams for these projects have to be pretty well shared services in order to be able to make decisions. So these are well thought out processes, and they need a service like we provide in order to accelerate it. So we received a call in April of this year because the process went well, and we performed, and they were very happy with that. And the benefits they received from establishing in Monterrey, Mexico, and they said, we need you to do the same thing for Eastern Europe right now. So without obviously sharing more, I can tell you that we are analyzing 11 countries in Eastern Europe with very few exceptions. Every one of them is on the table, and our business intelligence team is active, and we are working with the NAI offices.
Excellent.
So this is one of the benefits of this platform, to have an entrepreneurial counterpart that I can call in Prague and in Poland and in Romania, and in the Baltic countries. All this is fantastic. So this is one of the ways we've scaled the platform, sending business to these folks and also then providing a service to our client.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And is the end goal for that client to consolidate operations from 7 or 8 or 11 locations to 1 or 2, or what is the goal for that client?
Yeah, it's a good question. This specific client will consolidate 2 operations, one in Italy and the other in Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, excuse me. And those will be consolidated into one new large plant that they'll be, and also in Holland. So we're going to analyze the supply chain all through Europe. We're going to look at the labor rates for specific skill sets. We're going to look at incentives from each of these local governments. And then we're going to do a risk assessment, which will include security and political risk. So there's already some countries that I've ruled out because of what I consider to be political risk that's not necessary to put our client in front of. Traditionally, the bigger companies set up in Latin America. So we had our competitors, and we'll call them the majors. But what I noticed as we started evolving was that CBRE has a great investment broker in Chile. Cushman has had some pretty good teams in Brazil, but it wasn't consistent, Gary, across the region or across the block, as they say in Latin America.
Yes.
And it made me think, and so I went to Sony and a couple of other of my global clients, and I said, if we could provide the same service to you in Mexico, Tijuana, all the way to Argentina or Tierra del Fuego, would you be interested? And every one of them said, absolutely. So then we developed the concept, and we said to our NAI sister companies, we're going to do this, and we want you to be part of it. It's not going to cost you anything. We will help establish processes and establish deliverables that are going to be consistent. And they're very enthusiastic about it, and it's moving forward. We have some success stories already. We're working with CAT in Mexico, Panama, and Brazil.
Caterpillar?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So anything
that
right now, and we don't have an exclusive, but we're working for these kinds of things. When they want something, we want NAI Pan Americas to be the name that everybody remembers.
Very well.
So that's where we're headed
NAI
with this.
Pan Americas.
Based upon our knowledge center and the databases that we're non-traditional buyers, now has it under contract. It's a billionaire from China.
I was going to ask the venue from which it is. So
Yeah.
here you are going to Pittsburgh, connecting Trinidad and Tobago with China.
Yeah.
That's a unique story right there.
Yeah. And this is part of the platform. This is why we enjoy it so much.
Yes.
And one more thing about the platform, we're a hybrid. So we are not a franchise. We are not corporately owned. And what you get when you have that is these very entrepreneurial members and owners who are quick. We have speed to market. We have the ability to pivot fast on a project. And we still have the support of NEI Global. And that's a flat organization too. So we can pretty quickly access Jay, who's always available. and the other corporate staff that's there.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
that really helps. We are investing really heavily, Gary, in technology. So in-house, we're designing the business intelligence modules that clients will have access to, whether it's these factors we're discussing from logistics, transportation, and labor to site selection and real estate. This will be for NAI clients through our specific portal, which we are in the process of designing. It'll be done before the end of the year. So we're continuing to invest in that. I think in order to extend the idea of Pan Americas, we're going to redouble our efforts with all of the offices in Latin America. So that's Costa Rica, Panama, Bahamas, the Caribbean, and then the northern South America offices in Colombia and Peru, and then Brazil, and then all the way down to Argentina. So we're going to redouble our efforts to say, we're going to proudly represent this. Let's make sure we've got somebody that's committed and obligating to give this the time it needs, and then we're going to drive more business to them, and they'll drive more business through the region.
So you're going north-south, but I think you're going east.
Sure.
I heard a conversation about our affiliate with Shanghai,
Yeah.
that you're doing some work with them to establish relationships to bring investment to and from, I should say more, because you're already doing a deal with China.
Yeah.
But that's an initiative that's also ongoing as well, right?
Yeah, so again, because we have the ability to leverage or flex this platform, and our clients are global, CAT, for example, or these Chinese clients, they're not just in one country. So we're saying, let's identify who they are, where are they, how do we reach them?
Right.
And this means collaborating with the office in Shanghai. We actually have a Chinese broker in NAI Mexico, and I have 2 Korean brokers.
Okay.
So because we are a Pacific Rim facing country, the Pacific Rim investment hits Mexico and Peru and Colombia first when it comes this way.
Oh, yes.
So we not only want to be there to receive it, but we want to be there to coordinate it through the offices in Korea and in Japan and,
Excellent,
and
excellent.
in Hong Kong and in Shanghai.